Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, voters across the country are reacting to the historic conviction of former President Trump, and it could impact how they vote in November. Plus, the U.S. government has cut the cord on a major program which has helped millions throughout the country afford internet service.
Plus, moisture increases just in time for this weekend. Your first alert forecast on the way as Mountain News at 5:30 starts now.
Dedicated to southern and eastern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 5:30.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. One day after a New York jury found former President Donald Trump guilty, voters are sharing how his conviction may or may not impact what they do at the ballot box in November. For the presumptive GOP presidential nominee and President Biden, a lot is riding on what voters will do in those closely divided swing states. CBS's Willie James Inman has the latest from Washington.
As many voters weigh their 2024 presidential choice, some are weighing in on the Republican candidate's felony conviction.
Finally, I feel like a little bit of justice is served.
We have to stand by our president right now in our country. If we don't, we're going to lose everything.
Opinions about the trial seem divided along party lines. With a tight race between former President Trump and President Biden, November's election will likely come down to 7 states that could swing to either candidate. Voters in those states who spoke with us say the guilty verdict does not change their vote.
If I could do cartwheels, that he got convicted, I would do cartwheels. I'm so ecstatic that people came through.
I'm still voting for Donald Trump. I think this whole thing has been a mockery. I'm embarrassed for our country.
Polls conducted before the verdict found only a small percentage of Trump supporters said they would reconsider their vote with the conviction. So far, new polling is limited. Pollster and consultant Frank Luntz.
No evidence that people have moved away from Donald Trump. No evidence that they've moved towards him. The undecided just maybe giving Joe Biden another look. It's too close to call.
Luntz says in the end, the election could hinge on undecided voters deciding they do not want to vote for a convicted felon. Willie James Inman, CBS News, Washington.
The Kentucky State Treasurer released a statement responding to the conviction of former President Trump. Mark Metcalf says, quote, "The conviction of President Trump disgraced America. The indictment, trial, and verdict ignored basic rules of due process and equal protection, which are the beating heart of our justice system." Metcalf added he stands firmly behind Trump and that he will continue to fight for the values and vision of national greatness he represents. The Washington, D.C. Attorney Discipline Board has recommended Rudy Giuliani be disbarred. Donald Trump's former lawyer already had his law license suspended for spreading lies about fraud in the 2020 election. This disbarment recommendation comes after a Professional Responsibility Board committee held a trial-like proceeding late in 2022 to weigh ethics charges against Giuliani. A Minnesota police officer celebrated for running toward danger and saving lives last year died yesterday when that same drive to serve and protect brought him face to face with a gunman. He now joins the list of 136 officers shot in the line of duty in the first 4 months of this year, including 20 who were killed, according to the National Fraternal Order of Police. CNN's Laura Aguirre has more.
The city of Minneapolis lost a hero in police officer Jamal Mitchell.
The city of Minneapolis reeling in the aftermath Friday of a deadly ambush on first responders that's left many law enforcement officials visibly shaken and angry.
This has been a terrible day for our agency and in law enforcement. And it's happening all too frequently, and it affects so many.
Officer Jamal Mitchell, 36, was killed Thursday evening when officers responded to a call of 2 people shot at an apartment building. Accounts differ, but the assistant chief says first responders were shot at when they first arrived. Police returned fire. Mitchell then approached an individual to render aid.
Officer Mitchell was attempting to assist the individual that shot him. It happened very fast and that he ambushed him.
Other responding officers shot and killed the suspect. 3 civilians were found shot at the scene. 1 later died. A second officer and a firefighter were also injured.
4 times in the last couple months, we've had public safety officers rushing into that situation, and in this case being ambushed.
Mitchell made headlines last year when he saved an elderly couple from their burning home, just 3 days in on the job. CNN asked Mitchell then about his heroic decision.
We are trained to put others' lives in front of ours.
Minnesota's governor telling his community it's time to turn emotion into action.
That trauma quickly should turn to anger and a commitment that this cannot happen.
I'm Laura Aguirre reporting.
It's still unclear what prompted the gunfire that led to the deadly shootout. Police said yesterday they believe they know who the suspect is, but detectives are working to determine a motive. The other 2 Minneapolis gunshot victims suffered life-threatening injuries, including a person who was shot in his vehicle and another who was found in an apartment. A manhunt is underway in Nebraska for a suspect who shot at officers and took a hostage. Officers were attempting to serve an arrest warrant to 42-year-old Jason Davenport yesterday, but Nebraska State Patrol says he started shooting. Multiple troopers and an Omaha police officer returned fire. The Nebraska State Patrol says Davenport took a woman hostage and made his escape in a gray Ford Fusion. No officers or troopers were injured. A Venezuelan migrant charged with the murder of a nursing student on the University of Georgia campus has pleaded not guilty in court. Jose Ibarra sat next to his attorney wearing headphones as he appeared before a Superior Court judge. Family and friends of the victim, Laken Riley, sat in the gallery behind Ibarra, some crying and others looking at the suspect. The 22-year-old Riley was reported missing back in February when she went for a jog.
Well, the weather is very nice on this last day of May. A live look from our studios overlooking parts of Hazard, tracking some dry weather on this Friday under some sunshine. Those temperatures also warmer today. Most of us in the middle to upper 70s up to 77 for Perry County at this hour. Not a drop on first alert pinpoint Doppler, all thanks to high pressure. And this weather system will continue to bring in some more dry conditions as we go into this Friday evening and Friday night. Be sure to enjoy that, though, because changes are on the way to go into this weekend. Notice most of us, though, are warm on this Friday, up to 80 over in Manchester, 77 for Harlan, also in Jonesville, and 78 over in Estill County for Irvin at this hour. And we stay mild to go into this evening. Those lows not as cool as last night. Most of us see middle to lower 50s to wake up and kick off this weekend, tracking some more rain chances and some more warmer conditions to go into this weekend. All those details on the way in just a little bit. Steve?
Cameron, thank you. West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin is leaving the Democratic Party. The longtime Democrat announced he is registering as an independent. In recent years, Manchin has been a pivotal swing vote in the Senate where Democrats have control by a very narrow margin. He says to stay true to his values, he has to register as an independent with no party affiliation. President Biden has become the first incumbent president to run for re-election with a unionized workforce. A labor agreement for workers at his Delaware campaign headquarters went into effect last Thursday. It covers things like wages, time off, and severance. Right now, the agreement covers nearly 100 workers, but that will grow as the campaign picks up steam. The Biden administration and Campaign Workers Guild issued a joint statement praising the contract. The U.S. government has pulled the plug on a popular program that helped millions of households afford internet service. The move comes after Republicans in Congress ignored calls by consumer advocates and Democratic lawmakers to approve more funding. The Federal Communications Commission reports nearly 1 in 5 American households took advantage of the program. This could throw 60 million Americans into financial distress. Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, Ford is recalling more than 100,000 Lincoln Aviators. We'll tell you why.
And enjoy the calm weather this evening because changes are on the way. Timing out that next rain chance after this break.